I just want to say hello to everyone and thank you so much for attending my second Hey Docs webinar. And tonight we are going to be discussing the Internet Marketing Challenge for Startups and Acquisitions. Now, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to be talking about challenges with existing practices as well. But as you know, Hey Docs is going to be focused on really getting good information out to new doctors and new team members. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jill Allen, and I am an orthodontic consultant with over 30 years of experience in this industry. I specialize in startup practices and doctors and team members who've been in practice 8 years or less. My goal of this webinar and soon to be podcast starting in the next session is to share with each of you inspirational stories on how my guests built their businesses and how their knowledge can help you as a newer business owner or team member. For this webinar, which I'm super excited about, we will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. So please be sure, if you are thinking about them, throw them into that chat box and we will definitely make sure that we make time to get your questions answered. And if for any reason it's something that Mary Kay feels like she needs to get back with you that requires a little bit of a longer answer, we'll be sure to take your information and she will respond to you in an email. So it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Mary Kay Miller, who is one of my dear friends in the industry. Mary Kay is the owner and CEO of Kaleidoscope and previous owner of Orthopreneur Internet Marketing. Her company is a technology-driven marketing company designed and built to market orthodontic practices with industry-specific quality service and one goal in mind. That's growth. Mary Kay specializes in practices looking to build a strong internet foundation based on Google guidelines, brand development, and web design aesthetics. Welcome, Mary Kay.
Hi, Jill. And again, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great opportunity for me to share my knowledge with the young orthodontists and doctors who are starting up in their practices. And I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I am too. So I know your story because we are dear friends and I've known you for many years now, but one of my goals in doing Hey Docs is to really let my guests kind of talk about their journey in the orthodontic industry. And if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing a little bit of how you got into this, because I always think that's the fun part. And then from there, kind of what took you to the business that you're in now and the passion that you have, just championed for us over the years when we think about internet marketing and websites and all that other really good stuff that's out there.
So actually, Jill, my story is rather unique. I'm not going to give you years because I tell everyone I started at the age of 6, but it is over 40 years experience in orthodontics. And I actually started in a startup practice, which is why reason for my passion for startups and acquisitions, because I understand how tough it is when you open your door and you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get new patients in the chairs. Obviously, it was years ago before the internet and the strategies were different, but through the years, I helped build one of the largest practices in upstate New York when I left in 2006 to go off and start my own internet marketing company. And that practice was recently acquisitioned by Orthodontic Partners and was evaluated the largest practice in the private practice in the state of New York. So I understand all the challenges that every orthodontic has. At one point, we had 5 locations. I managed over 25 full-time staff. I was a treatment coordinator. I was a certified dental assistant. I cleaned toilets. I vacuumed, all the usual duties that anyone that is running a practice encounters on a day-to-day basis. But my love was always marketing and computers. Mm-hmm. And I actually developed a practice management software system in the early 80s, the same year that Ortho 2 started, with a software developer from Xerox. And at that time, everyone kept saying, why would anyone ever need a computer in an office? And, I was like 10 years before my time, and I decided, well, okay, that wasn't such a great idea right now.
And now we're saying, why would anybody need a chart in an office?
Right.
Right.
It's just totally flipped. And in the early 90s, we were the third practice in the United States that had a baby dolphin. And we were taking photos of patients. And we actually, few practices did it this way. On a side note, Chester Wang, who actually sold Dolphin to Henry Schein, he was the tech rep that installed the system in our office. It was rather funny. I ran into him at a meeting and I said, Chester, do you remember me? And he says, oh yeah, Rochester, New York. He says, God, do I remember going there? So it was, it was great. Interesting, but we used it as a marketing tool. We didn't use it as a digitizer. What soon happened was moms would be calling and going, are you the practice that gives the photo so I can go home and explain to my husband why you need orthodontics? So, I always understood the power of computerization and marketing, built my first website for the practice in 1998. And we were doing online contests, even though the kids at that time, a lot of families didn't have computers. They go to the local library to play our contest because they love the idea of it. So my goal when I started Orthopreneur Internet Marketing in 2006 was to help doctors navigate the internet. And eventually I was tagged the Internet Gestapo, both Telebox and Sesame. Yeah, they were not happy with me because, I started educating the doctors on SEO. And then the doctors are going, then why don't you have any SEO on my website? And eventually it became a standard process for them. But I felt it was important that doctors be educated on what they needed to do to market themselves online. And I've continued to do so with all the different strategies that are now with online marketing today.
Oh, that is great. I just love hearing that journey. And, as a former employee in an orthodontic office, as you know, I started in the sterilization, trenches. Well, actually I started in the lab assistant trenches, didn't even get to make my way up to sterilization yet. So it's always fun to, just kind of see, where our past takes us to our present and, where we're at now.
And I also think it makes us more realistic on
right.
When you're trying to recommend products and services, I know what they can do and what they can't do. A lot of things sound great on paper, but let's face it, do you have time to implement it in a practice?
Right, exactly. Okay, so we've got a lot of information we're going to just hop into, and I know everybody is here to hear the goods. So are you prepared to give us the goods for the next 40 minutes or so?
Yes, I am.
All right, you will take the challenge. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is, I'm going to call it our internet marketing challenge. So let's really think about this. And how do we, as orthodontic practices, as me as a consultant coaching, as doctors and team members listening, how do we not get lost in the crowd? And the first place I want to start is I want to talk about Google a little bit, and tell me your thoughts on Google, because doggone it, it's driving the train, right?
It is the king of the internet, and it doesn't care.
Okay.
And, the first thing any new business owner should understand, Google doesn't care.
All right, say that one more time. Just say that one more time.
Google doesn't care.
Okay.
It's a computer. It's an algorithm. And if your branded name, if your web foundation doesn't meet their algorithm, you will have a challenge.
All right. Now, what if I've got a beautiful, beautiful website with all these gorgeous colors and pictures?
Beautiful websites, but Google can't watch a video. It doesn't see a picture. all it does is see the code underneath the hood. And oftentimes I've seen a Maserati, and I call it with a Chevy engine that, they come in and I just paid $10,000 for a website and it doesn't rank. And, I always feel bad when I say, but under the hood isn't going to compete with the Maseratis in your area. And the only way I can fix it is to rebuild it. Now I can make it similar to what you have, but how you build that website underneath the hood is what Google reads.
All right.
And, you can have great aesthetics with the website, but your choice of vendor who understands the orthodontic industry is completely different than a vendor who's a jack of all trades and builds website for multiple industries. You want a vendor that specializes in local search. That means they build websites for local areas. The website build and the SEO for a local company versus a national or international company are completely different. And the designs are completely different because Google looks for different things in the coding for local than it does for national. And you also want it to be user-friendly. You can have a beautiful website, but if it's not offering the information that moms want to see, not what you want to tell them, but what they want to know, you can tell by the times that they're on site whether or not the design is working. That's where your Google Analytics comes in.
Got it.
So, it is a strategy, and you can have a great looking website as long as you understand the dynamics that's required to get you there.
Got it. Perfect. So let me ask, are you going to show us some examples of what you're talking about? Because I know I'm a visual person. So are you going to be able to help me out with that a little bit?
Yes. And I thought what I'd start off with is what I feel are some of the most important parts of a good internet marketing foundation.
Perfect.
And the advantage that a startup and an acquisition has over an existing practice is that you can build a foundation that is Google friendly. Many of the established practices that are out there today, they built those foundations before the internet was a factor in their marketing, and it's very difficult for them to change it. Now, if you are acquiring a practice like this, you are purchasing all this great wealth of history, and you want to transfer that history to your new business name and take advantage of that so that you can rank real well. And if it's already a practice that ranks well, you want to maintain it. You don't want it to slip because you didn't follow the steps that Google requires when transitioning a practice. So I'm going to take control of the screen here. And I'm going to show some examples of what I mean. And I'm going to start off with some business names. Now, I understand that many young owners want to use their last name as their business. I get it. What I'd like you to consider are the ramifications if you make that type of choice versus a choice that is more Google friendly. And Google normally prefers practices. One thing I must mention is the name orthodontics should always be in your business name, because that guides Google into your business already knowing what your category is. If you name your practice, for example, like Happy Smiles, that doesn't correlate to you being an orthodontist. So those practices that do have orthodontics in their business name will always supersede you in the area.
Now, can I ask a quick question on that?
Sure.
So give us a little bit of hope here for some of us that can't change our names, that are, aren't able to do that. Will you talk about some workarounds or some things to help us that maybe not at this moment? So I don't want anyone to lose hope that if you can't change your name or that isn't the name that you came up with, that we're doomed.
Yes. There are options for all that.
Okay.
And that's in your choice of domain name.
Okay. All righty.
Okay. And there's always a workaround.
That's what I want to hear, everyone. There's always a workaround.
And, I'll have doctors say, I can't find the domain name. And I go, okay, what are the circumstances? And I'll come up with one in less than a minute.
Perfect. All right. Sorry. I didn't mean to derail you. I just didn't want anyone to lose hope.
If there's always hope and all that.
Okay.
if you have not finalized that name, and even if you have set up a corporation in any state in the country, you always can file for a DBA or
which for anybody who may be new, that's a doing business as or an alias.
correct. You always can change it if you decide, oh, this is new information to me, and based on that information, I want to make a different choice. You are not locked in until you set up your Google business. Once you set up your Google business account and you've announced yourself on the internet, it's very difficult to change your name.
Okay.
It isn't impossible, and we do it all the time with an acquisition, but Google does not adjust well to name changes.
All right, good to know.
Okay. So I'm going to use this example, and I just pulled up, I opted to go to a major city.
Okay.
I have clients all over the country and in major cities, and in a major city, it's much more competitive, and the keyword branding is more important than in suburban or rural areas where you don't have a lot of competition. In those areas, it doesn't really matter. You can do anything, because if that website is built right with the SEO under the hood and your branding is done correctly, you just automatically, the goal would be is that you would be in the top 3. Some areas, as you go out more rural, there's only 1 in the map or 2 in the map. But I find that practices, and I'm going to show you some examples of one that have only gone live in 2 weeks and how much things can change in just 2 weeks.
I can't wait.
So but this one particular here, I'm going with Houston, and you'll notice that in the top 3 here, you got Houston Orthodontic Specialists, Greater Houston Orthodontics, and this one is Davudian Hbliski Orthodontics, and actually Houston is part of the name here. The reason that I wanted to show you this is this practice, they actually own these 2 practices, and they kept the name separate. I kept the name separate. They are my clients, and I did it so that I could maintain them in high up in the maps. But they want to go under one umbrella as Greater Houston Orthodontics. Mm-hmm. And the goal is, and we will be moving forward with that, but Google, if you have multiple locations, normally does not put 2 business names in the top 3. So there's strategies that you can work around with this, because there's a lot of smaller practices now that are buying practices, and they have these little mini DSOs. You know, they may have 5 or 6 locations, and there's ways that we can strategize it. But keep in mind, you'll notice here that the top ones in the area all have Houston in the name, and they all have orthodontics in the name. You don't see anything with braces. You don't see anything with smiles. And as you go down here into organic, you'll see that this is greaterhoustonorthodontics.com, houstonortho.com. Those domain names that have Houston in it, Google can immediately zoom in on the location. And the algorithm today is all about geo-targeting, meaning Google knows exactly where someone is sitting when they're Googling for an orthodontics, and it's going to geo-target in that area. In major metro areas, the radius is smaller than a suburban or a rural area. The days of being able to be found in multiple suburbs is gone. It's not an option.
Yeah.
I know doctors that say, well, you know, I'm on a border here and the name of my town is whatever, and you want to be 3 miles down the road into the other town, but Google is not going to put you there. It's going to put the orthodontist in that town there. So what we want to do is strategize how we can work around that.
Got it.
And I'm just going to mention quickly because of limit of time, and the best way to do that is with ads.
All right.
But using organic free areas with SEO, it is not possible with the way that algorithm is written today.
And I just want to, just in case anybody's new, doesn't know, SEO means search engine optimization. That's what we're looking for.
That, you know?
That's okay. That's okay. That's my job. So search engine optimization, our goal is always to have really good ranking in organic searches. So if we're not paying for it, we hope that we've got that search engine optimization with keywords that's bringing our website up to the top organically or just naturally. And I would say, Mary Kay, tell me if I'm wrong, but we're really looking, especially as new practices or anybody in particular, but we want to be on that first page organically. That's as much as we can, we want to have that be our goal. Correct?
Right. But
Yeah.
our main goal, because the search habits for consumers have changed within the last couple of years, especially with COVID, your goal is to be the top 3 in the maps.
And everyone hear that. Maps are the driver right now. We want to be organic, but maps are the driver right now. And that is a change. What would you say?
I would say that change has been in the last 18 to 24 months.
Yep. Okay.
Statistics and reports are showing. And the other thing too, you'll notice here, now this is a major metro area. If you're a transitioning practice and you have a lot of reviews, cool. This is tough for a startup because you're competing with practices that have hundreds of reviews. And a big piece of this map algorithm is the reviews and branding of the business name.
And can I stop you for 1 second right there? So anybody who's a startup or has worked with me, you have heard me say this to you over and over again. We need a minimum of 3 reviews a month as we're getting going, minimum. That's why I push that so much. If you're not a client of mine and you're just here listening, just hear that. Because what Mary Kay is talking about is if we don't have those reviews, if you're a year in and only have 4 reviews, 5 reviews, 6 reviews, you're never going to be able to compete with those who have 100 reviews. And that's my goal for you, is always to get those reviews in to have you move up. Sorry, Mary Kay, I just needed to jump in there and say that.
To that, and I think that it's important that they understand, 10 is bare minimum.
Minimum.
Because if you have less than 10 reviews and you have 1 bad review, this algorithm is built on 10. So if you have 9 reviews and you get a 1-star review, you're going to drop down to about a 4.7. Now, if you have 100 reviews and you get a 1-star review, you'll go to a 4.9 and you'll stay there. It won't matter, but 10 is the magic number. And I always tell clients, especially if you're coming out of school or you've worked somewhere else, get friends and family that you've worked, just get somebody to get on there and write reviews. Just be cognizant, no more than 3 reviews a month, spread them out. If you bring in a large number of reviews quickly and then you stop, Google questions that in the algorithm. They think you're buying reviews. And if they see you buying reviews or they see you review gating, and I want to keep moving with this, you can Google review gating. I have had practices that have one lost 60 reviews because they were, not following the guidelines for reviews. So steady as you go, like Jill says, 3, and as you become larger, 1 a week.
Yep.
And then when you're large enough that you can logically use a review service, I recommend a review service that integrates with your practice management system. So when the patients check out, it automatically sends the text message request. But that's for, that's going to be a while. That's when, if you have over, 200 total patients and it makes sense to pay a monthly fee for that type of service.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Sorry to take us down a little rabbit hole there, but I thought that was important to get to.
Right. So I also want to mention, as Jill had mentioned before, you'll notice that this particular practice, Sosby and Britt Orthodontics, you'll notice that their domain name doesn't even have orthodontics in it, but it ranks quite high. But this practice has done its due diligence over the years with in this particular case, a blogging service. It's always bringing in new content. So as you're starting up, the goal is to get a sound foundation built. Your marketing is important. Your internal and external marketing is as important as your online marketing, but your online marketing is the umbrella that whether someone you've been referred by friends and family, someone's going to Google your name. Then you want to have a good web presence. And I'll show you some examples of this.
Perfect.
But you also want to maintain steady as you go over the years, so that once you build this good foundation, you don't have to spend as much time and effort. And hopefully some of you have purchased a practice that has done this over the years, and you want to change this business name and maintain all of this ranking, but it has to be done systematically based on the Google guidelines. Okay, so I'm going to show an example here. This is a new startup that has been in practice for 2 months. And you'll notice that when we Google orthodontist South Hill, Virginia, which is where she's located, this is in a more rural area. This is what pops up with a correct Google My Business, which is now called Google Business Profile Setup. Now, just because you set up your Google My Business area, there is actually an entire marketing program which is search engine optimized. And it also has a foundation set up where we notify all the top aggregators and databases that control local search that this is a new business, its doors are open, and it's viable. And Google has a trust score. And if Google is not seeing these mentions in all these top different areas, it doesn't trust your practice like it would another practice. Now, for example, and the reason I chose this, she only has 2 reviews. And she came in here, and here's another practice in the area that she's now in the #1 spot and they're #2. But you'll notice in their Google My Business area here, as we scroll down, she has appointments. And if you have a practice management system that has an appointment calendar, we like to link it in through the Google My Business area. Now, this isn't always viable. Like, for example, you can't link in OrthoFi, and the Dolphin appointment link doesn't work, but the one on Ortho2, Cloud9, Grayfinch, they all work very well through here. So when you click on this, a mom that's coming in, she can immediately go in and schedule an appointment directly, which is huge. Moms are busy. Oftentimes they are on their lunch hours, or they're in the evening after the family goes to sleep. And this is a great way for them to get an appointment scheduled. I'm not going to go into the practice that we recommend, and I'm sure Jill will review with you. There's got to be follow-up so that you don't have a no-show. But this is a great way for you to give everyone the opportunity to schedule an appointment there. And as you scroll down here, you'll see that there's actual advertising on here. And when you click on one of these, it gives a brief overview of what the service is. You do learn more, it clicks into the website. Now, this drives traffic to the website. It tells Google that you are offering good information. And this practice has only been there, let me bring this up, a couple months, and she already has earned her position above the other practice. Okay, so let's go on to the next one here. If you Google hometown orthodontics, and I had to put in Virginia because I'm in New York State, you'll see this is what someone sees. So if someone knows about you and you know that, the practice name is Hometown Orthodontics, that's how a lot of people search. So when they come in here, you'll see the website. Again, you'll see the Google My Business area. And many consumers, if they already know who you are and they're looking here, and this is why if she had 250 reviews, it would be a lot more to her advantage than 2 reviews. But again, she's a startup. This is why this is so powerful, because this map area shows up everywhere, whether you're using a keyword, whether you're using a doctor name, or whether you're using a practice name. You want to get these reviews up. And again, they can go through all here, the reviews show up, and it also links in the areas before they get to your competitors down here, which is at the bottom of every page. So you want to keep them away from the other competitor listings. And the last example here, I have an orthodontist in American Fork. This website went live 2 weeks ago. This was an acquisition. The practice that was purchased, they never cleaned up their brand with the previous orthodontist when it was bought. So there was confusion with all this. So we actually had to clean up 3 practice names. And you'll notice that they did opt to go with American Fork Orthodontics, and the town is American Fork, and they are already #1 in the maps, and they have 13 reviews. Now, these reviews were reviews from the previous owners who were very slack. They didn't do much, but we were able to merge all the 3 in for a total of 13. So if you are acquiring a practice and there is a strategy, Google will only allow you to merge a doctor's name and a practice name if there's one doctor. If there's multiple doctors, it will not allow you to do this. So with this strategy, we actually did the merger before we made the announcement of the new orthodontist. So, each situation we evaluate differently, and we offer different recommendations based on who you are, where you are, and what is represented with that. Now, if you look here, this is the new doctor's name. The website's been up, as I said, 2 weeks. It's already indexed his photo. You'll notice the map area isn't here yet because they're not trusting him yet with that business name. But you'll notice that if they Google him, his website is showing with his doctor page. And what is interesting here, because we set up all his citations and a lot of his business names, you'll notice that he's already showing up for US News and Health for dentists, and some of these doctor databases that were all part of his branding. You'll notice here, this is the older previous orthodontist who did not want to take his listing down because he was afraid that no one would find him and he's going to be there for another 6 months. We will not be able to merge this. So this is going to be marked permanently closed when he leaves the practice in 6 months. But you'll notice that the website already is showing here in the #2 spot below the AAO. This doctor had taken his website down and said, well, he doesn't need this when the practice was purchased. All the history went down the drain. So if you're going to purchase a practice, please write it in your sales agreement that all internet marketing, including domain names, will be transferred to you at the sale of the practice. It was one of the reasons why we had to be creative on how we were going to do all this, because the domain was lost and there was no way that we could recoup it. And this, I typed in American Fork Orthodontics PC, which was what I normally do not recommend putting PC or LLP or whatever in a name, but they wanted it put in there. The website is not showing yet because Google hasn't completely indexed it when you put in the name, but you'll look here and you'll see Yelp, Yellow Pages, Who Do You, Waze. Waze is a citation site that you want to get your business. So if someone's on mobile, they can find it. This YableyWellness.com, all of this was part of the foundation setup that we set up as part of the Google My Business setup. So it isn't just telling Google that you want to start your business. I mean, that takes 2 minutes. That's easy. It's all the other pieces that make this flow so well. And that's why it's so important to your foundation.
And Mary Kay, I just want to hold on that thought for a minute, because even 2 years ago, I don't think there was as much importance on the Google business page as there is now. No. And I think that this is something, if I could just, talk to each of you, if you're new business owners, if you are doing these acquisitions, that it's bigger than just purchasing the practice or doing the startup. We really want to make sure that we're doing this right, from setting up the Google business page to my maps to, all of these different things really do play in, because we know that just marketing and trying to get referrals in from dental offices is not the key to us growing our businesses. It really is being in front of, I say direct to consumer. We have to be in front of everybody who is using their phones and their computers and their iPads or, whatever it is to find you as the orthodontist and you as the orthodontic practice out there. So thank you for going into that, because I think that is just key information that we need to know, especially if we're doing newer practices. And even if you're existing and you're like, I just need to kick it in gear and get going, you probably need to start with your Google business page and how old your website is.
Exactly. It's amazing the number of practices that we do a complimentary evaluation, and their brand is all screwed up. I go, have you bought a practice in the last 10 years? Yeah. Did you ever notify the internet that you bought it? No. Well, here we go. Google doesn't care. Follow the rules, notify them, or it's gonna be a problem. But there's a protocol to follow, and there's a sequence, because Google's a search engine. Google references state corporate records. It references the top databases that control local search. And if you're not in those databases and you flip your name on Google, you could lose a top map ranking with a acquisition if you're not careful and you don't do it correctly. And I've seen it happen over and over again. Yeah. The doctors will say, well, I was there before. Well, doctor, the algorithm has changed and Google has changed. And if you didn't notify them correctly, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So it's important for every practice to test and make sure that everything is going well here. Now, Jill, I noticed that, you gave me a timeline here. So where do you want me to hop to next that you feel is the most important?
I think I want to talk just a little bit about, if we've got, I would say we probably got another 10 minutes or so. I don't know what you can fit in, but two topics that I was hoping that we could get through is we could kind of talk a little bit about the pros and cons of online advertising, because I think that as new business owners, as doctors that are, maybe just thinking, I'm going to not just wade my, dip my toes in, but I'm going to go in. Can you talk a little bit about that for us? And only if we have time, I want to finish up with maybe some important little tips for a new website. But I think you've done a really good job at kind of touching on a lot of that already. So do you mind spending about another 10 minutes or so and just kind of talking about online advertising and some of that?
Yes, no, online advertising for a startup and even for an acquisition, getting people to understand that there is a new business owner and the name has changed. The best way to get the word out there, if you're not in the top 3 in the maps and in the 1 or 2 spot, organic is ads. And if you're the type of practice that wants to go in surrounding areas and expand your radius, the only way to do it is with an ad. Those are the positive things about an ad. And an ad gives you the opportunity to, the more established practices, they aren't necessarily offering any type of incentives. Depending upon your area is whether or not you even have to offer like $500 off Invisalign or whatever you want to do. It isn't always necessary. We normally evaluate that by the area or where you are in the practice. But the most important thing that I think we should understand about ads today is that Google ads are performing much better today than Facebook and Instagram. And the reason being is, especially during COVID and all the problems that Facebook is having, they actually have been raising the ad spend. And they also, because of the new ability with Apple phones, with iPhones, where you actually can turn off on the phone, you don't want to see the ads. This new feature is causing a lot of problems for Facebook advertising. And the other thing with Facebook advertising, it's like throwing spaghetti on a wall. So, you have a program where you're targeting moms in a certain area and a certain age group and a certain income level, but they may not necessarily be interested in the orthodontist at the time. So It's great to brand your practice so that people start recognizing your name because they're seeing your ads all over the place. But we aren't seeing it respond as well for putting actual butts in the chair, so we say. So with a Google ad, it is actually a targeted program because in order for an ad to be found, they have to actually put in the keyword for the orthodontist. So, it would say orthodontist near me, and then an ad would pop up because, you have created that ad. So it shows in that particular area, or Invisalign, or however you want to, whatever keywords are decided. And there's, multiple keywords that you can use with different formulas. And then the way we actually do it is we have a separate landing page. And the reason that we have this landing page is many practices, they have no way to determine return on investment. And these programs that work well and actually do put patients in the chairs, the management fees are higher than if you can do it yourself. Like often you can say, well, Google will give me a $200 ad spend and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do this. But, there's a strategy behind all of this. And, we actually want to be able to say, okay, Susie Jones filled out a form. We know her email address is this, her phone number is this, and we contacted her. We saw her on such and such a date, and she started, and that was worth $5,500. So you know that if you spent $2,000 on your ad spend for the month, not only have you gained that investment back, any other new patient that comes in the rest of the month is gravy.
Yep.
If you don't have a program set up that allows you to do this, it's like throwing spaghetti on a wall, because reading a report about the number of impressions and the number of clicks means nothing unless they started.
Got it.
And it's important with the ads that you have a strategic program set up. Now, we have found that some areas of the country do not work as well with ads. The largest one being the Northeast, Maine, New Hampshire, areas of Vermont, and around certain major metro areas and lower income level areas. The ads just don't work in there, and you're not seeing a good return on investment. And normally what we do is we like a minimum of 3 months to run the ads to determine what's going on in the areas. And if we find that it's not working, say, well, we tried, but you don't know till you try. I mean, it's amazing. One of our biggest areas where the client is just killing it is Kansas City, Missouri. Now, who would have thought that?
Right.
Even more so than some of the major metro areas. So you never know. You also never know if they're going to call the office. We have a click to call, or if they're going to fill out a form.
Got it.
And some areas of the country, they're all filling out forms. Other areas, they're all calling in, and others are half and half. Each demographic is different, and you don't know it until you test it.
Yep.
But I do recommend ads for startups, unless, or, even for an acquisition to get the word out with the change, because you will see a little bit of a slowdown usually with an acquisition, because, they're trying to figure the new owner out, and, you may see a little bit of a slip, but, and this will help do this. Obviously an acquisition is easier to promote online than a startup, but both of them are very doable.
Yep. So I'm gonna ask a question here, and I know that you are and you own a marketing company, but I know a lot of times my startups, my acquisitions, they just don't have a budget to do, 20, 30,000 a year in marketing. Exactly. So if you could give me and our listeners a tip, like 3 little tips, if they are doing it themselves, or if they, if they have to work on a shoestring budget, can you give us 3 tips on what you would suggest if they just maybe aren't there yet or can't afford yet to get a marketing company in?
First thing and most important is do not scrimp on your website.
Okay.
Please no brother-in-laws. Hey, my best friend's got a friend type thing, because how that foundation is built will follow you for the rest of your career if it's not done correctly.
Okay.
And it all has to do with the navigation and the URLs and how all those individual pages are set up.
Got it.
And I understand that everyone likes the clean, simple look of a website. And people don't read it. And they're right. Google reads it. That's the only way Google can index your website. It has to have content on it.
Yes.
It needs content on the page. No minimalistic, no words, no keywords. If you do that, it's not going to rank.
Got it.
The other thing is this full service page where you put all your braces and, your braces and your Invisalign or clear liners, everything all on one page. Google cannot index that many keywords off of one page. They each have to have their own individual pages for SEO. And it has to include the geo-targeting. With geo-targeting, we add the longitude, the latitude, there's schema, there's coding, because when those little Google bots come in, they're not looking at your website, they're looking at the code that we put under there so that they can get that out there real quick, as I showed you with a couple of these examples with the startup, how quickly those websites were being done. So, those types, query your vendors, ask them for examples, and then test them. Now, because you have joined us on this webinar, at the very end, I'm going to share with you a link to video with how to test and tips on how to do all of these things.
Love
if
it.
you want to do it yourself. So
Love
Jill,
it.
you want me to give you the tips? I'm one step ahead of you.
I love it. I knew you'd do that for us. I knew you'd do that because, not everybody, can start with, as anybody who's on here that's a startup, you all know, or an acquisition, we only have a certain amount of money in the budget. And, so we have to be super smart with it. And just sometimes we can't afford to do everything all at once. So if we can at least take baby steps and get the core foundation, which is always what it's about, get the foundation in place, then we can start adding in and, and going and growing.
Right. So your website, number one, a Google My Business setup that it's fully optimized, and a branded foundation setup with for your local aggregators and your top databases.
Perfect. Okay. What can I ask for one more tip? If they had to do an online campaign on their own, what kind of a budget would you give them? If, we again, we don't have a lot. Would it be $50? Would it be $100? If we can't go more than 700, let's just say, how would you spend that money if they had to spend it
for a month?
Yeah, like per month online. If they've got, let's just say somebody's got $800, that's all they've got. Where would you put it if they had to? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I would put it on Google Ads versus Facebook.
Okay.
If you want to do it yourself, go on Amazon and buy a book. There's some great books on there on how to create ads for a business. The programs that allow you to do the tracking, they require special software, and that's not something that you want to get into. Just be aware that you'll just look to see if does it increase the number of patients coming in the door. Do not be discouraged if some of them don't show up. They're people that are coming off of ads. They're shoppers.
Yeah,
they're I like patients. They're shoppers.
Yeah, I like to call them. Everyone's heard me probably say this before. We call them our B patients. Be cautiously optimistic that they're going to show up, and number two, that they're going to start.
Right, and the thing is, this is why I like virtual treatment, because you can kind of take care of this virtually before you even waste their time coming in the door.
Yeah.
You can pre-screen them, shall we say. A lot of the older practices, many of them are not comfortable doing this, but younger orthodontists, I think virtual treatment, and you can do it right off a website. With our website, it's free. Our virtual treatment page, you don't even have to pay a monthly fee for it. And, you can meet them easily and just talk to them, get a sense, because if they can't afford it, or, they are totally shocked by the cost, which many shoppers are, you haven't wasted valuable chair time in the office.
Yep. All right. Well, you have just given us so much good information for tonight, so many pearls, and I just really, really thank you for that. I know you're going to show a screen here with some material, and then we're going to jump into some questions and then our speed round to finish us up.
Got it. Okay. So if you won't be able to see this on a phone, but if you're on a desktop, and I'm going to highlight this right here. If you go to thekaleidoscope.com/training-events, there is a page, and there is a full webinar about the Google My Business area and why it's considered the new gold mine, website design, how to test your ranking in Google.
Perfect.
Digital advertising, Google My Business profile tutorial on, things that you need to do for your setup. And when you are doing your testing, it is very important that you clear your search habits. And there's a video there that'll show you how to do it, because if you're going to be testing, Google tracks everything you do, and you want it down to completely clear, because someone looking for an orthodontist, it may be the first time, and they would get a completely different view than you would if you're not clearing your history. So all of this is available here in video format. And again, it's thekaleidoscope.com/training-events. It's all there for you to review complimentary.
Great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All righty. So I'm going to have you stop sharing your screen for just a second here. And we are going to jump into some of the questions. So if anybody has any questions, I want you to go ahead and throw those into the chat box here. Now, one question that one of our attendees, Chris, asked was, isn't it dishonest to ask friends to review your business if they haven't actually used your services? And I have an answer for that, but I'm going to let you first, Mary Kay. What are your thoughts on that? You want me to go first?
No, I'll just come out and say, I recommend my clients that they do it just to get themselves off the ground. And I'm not talking about 50, 60, 100 reviews getting people to do it, but, asking friends and family to help you just to get it started and get you safe at 10 reviews over a 2 or 3 month time. I see no problem with that. Everyone else is doing it. Why shouldn't you?
Yep. And the way I look at it is, you can have character reviews, doctors. There are people who know your character, maybe in previous practices you've been in residency, different people. You could actually have patients that have worked with you or for you that would be happy to give you a review. So also remember that if any of you are in residency or right now are working as associates thinking about doing a startup, keep kind of your collection of reviews and people that you could maybe call on when you're at a point where you need to start setting up some reviews. So I personally feel the same way as Mary Kay. Lots of people are out there are willing to give us some character reviews. If they can't say, I don't know that I would say I've been in their office and it was wonderful, unless they came in and did a walkthrough. It could be wonderful and awesome. They just don't have to say that, you treated them. And I think that that's the big difference. All right. So we have another question that came in from Camelia. And she asked, what about Dolphin Cloud for Google My Business? You said not Dolphin.
Okay, it's whether it's the in-house or the cloud. Their new patient portal is set up so that you have to actually add the patient's name and information in there first in order for it to be on the system. It's so it makes it difficult to set up an appointment scheduler with a link.
Got it.
I'm sure at some point, and it may already have happened, that they fixed it, but as far as I know, they have an appointment service, which is great, but it's for it to just have a link so that you can put it in the Google My Business area and it automatically goes in there. In the past, it has been an issue.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. And I know, I've seen a lot of my docs again, we're kind of bootstrapping it. I've had some do things like use Calendly, where they'll actually set up Calendly, and there's actually free versions of this. And, they just manage their online schedule to a Calendly, set up. And, there's a little bit more work, but gosh, if you're a small practice, you've got a team member that doesn't have much else to do anyways. Why not manage that? So there are lots of ways for us to find ways for patients to have online scheduling.
Right.
Right.
And it for startups, it works extremely well. It becomes more of a problem as you continue to grow.
Absolutely. We got to scale as we
Right.
go, we got to scale, and we probably got to implement more robust systems. But as startups,
Right.
brand new acquisitions, a lot of times that can really help us. I had another question come in from Ryan. Hey, Ryan. I actually know Ryan. Ryan says, do video style Google ads work better than just regular picture posts? Great question.
Google ad, it's very difficult with the way Google works to get the video style ad in there. Now you can do ads on YouTube, but unless someone's in YouTube looking for an orthodontist, which they're not, it doesn't make sense to do YouTube ads. You can do video ads on Facebook easier than you can on the Google ads. And it is a great way to brand. And I'm not saying that Facebook doesn't work. And if you do have a limited budget, like Jill mentioned, at least if you're branding your name and you're getting your name out and, you can be unique with what you're doing with the video, I say go for it. It's just keep in mind with your video, a little tip about this, put the video on YouTube, search engine optimize your video. Because one of the things is as people continue to click on these videos, and if they're search engine optimized correctly for keywords, if someone is Googling your name, these videos show up. And the biggest issue I find with doctors that are spending thousands of dollars on video, or even if they do it themselves in the office, they're not search engine optimizing their video on YouTube.
Great. Good information. Oh, I love this. We're going to have to do another one of these, Mary Kay. Just
where I can get into the nitty gritty.
I know it. I know. I'm going to have people that are going to be like, let's do this again. That was great info. All right. It doesn't look like we've got any more questions come in. If anyone comes in, we're going to jump into the speed round because I know everybody is probably getting tired, and we're going to wrap this up here. If any more comes in, I'll let you know about them. So let's jump into the speed round. So Mary Kay, you do not know what I'm getting ready to do.
I have no clue.
Here.
Just don't let me have it. I know it.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you, just a couple questions. We're going to just speed right through this. I don't want you thinking too much, but I just think that this is so much fun. All right. So are you ready to take the speed round challenge?
I am. Go.
Okay, here we go. Favorite ice cream?
Oh my God. Vanilla, actually.
I love it. Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Oh God, no.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
All right. Is double dipping ever acceptable?
Oh yes.
Do you wear your retainer every night?
No, I still wear it about every 3 nights though.
Nice. All righty. How would you rate your karaoke skills on a scale of 1 to Beyonce?
Oh, -10. I used to be able to sing, but no more.
Are tomatoes a fruit or a vegetable?
They are a vegetable. Oh no, they're a fruit. I'm sorry.
What show have you been watching?
Actually, The Offer, which is the story about the making of The Godfather.
Oh,
Very
nice.
good.
All right. Podcast, audio, music you've been listening to lately. Just one of them. Podcast.
Brene Brown.
I love her. All right. And the last one. What's your big, hairy, audacious goal for 2022?
My hairy, audacious goal? Actually, it has to do with, as we've all mentioned, I am the new owner and CEO of Kaleidoscope. And there are a few DSOs that are looking at us, and that one of those DSOs is going to come our way and say, go for it. We're here.
All right. I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the speed challenge and also just for being a part of Hey Docs. I think this was phenomenal information we got out there. I'm super excited about that. And for everybody who attended this evening, again, thank you so much for spending your night with me and Mary Kay. We will be reposting this in about a week, and it'll be up on our YouTube channel. Again, we're going to be moving this into a podcast. I'm super excited about this because starting at the end of July, we are going to be having podcasts every 2 weeks for the foreseeable future, and we're just going to have some really amazing guests on. So again, thank you, Mary Kay, for being a part of this. Thank you, everybody who attended this evening. And if you have additional questions, you're always welcome to reach out to me at www.practiceresults.com, or you can reach out to Mary Kay Miller at kaleidoscope.com. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, thekaleidoscope.com.
The
Kaleidoscope.com.
THE kaleidoscope.com.
And we do offer a complimentary consultation for acquisitions and startups. So please feel free to see how we can help you.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.